Hey guys, before we get going today, Justin and I just wanted to send out condolences to one of our loyal listeners, Frank, and his family. They lost their daughter since our last podcast, and we just wanted to send out our best wishes to Frank, Diane, and their family. We're thinking about them, especially during this time of year, and wish them the best. So, from our family to yours, our condolences, and you're in our thoughts and prayers.
Play right side.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0, and liftoff.
Welcome to Seattle Sports Insider Podcast, your best source for the latest news and conversation on what's happening with the big teams of the Pacific Northwest. We'll cover it all. Seahawks, Mariners, Supersonics. Supersonics? I think I grabbed the old script. Anyway, if it's big and it's sports and it's Seattle and surrounding, we're on it. Follow us on Twitter at Mariners Talk 24 and on Facebook, Seattle Sports Insider Podcast. And now, time for the second best father-son duo in Seattle sports history. After, of course...
Goodbye, baseball! They do it! The Griffeys with back-to-back home runs!
Here's your host of the Seattle Sports Insider Podcast, Justin Bonanno.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Bonanno Sports Banter. I'm Justin. That's my dad, Eric. And first things first, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope you're spending the holidays with family, some good food, and maybe a couple chilly ones, as I like to call, maybe having a nice alcoholic beverage with your friends and family. It's been a minute. I think the last time we recorded was before my wedding, and since then, a whole lot has happened. So today's episode is basically a time machine. We're going to go back to the wedding, what went right, what went wrong, what I remember, and what I don't. Then we'll have to jump in straight into the absolute chaos and the joy of the Mariners playoff ride, including the game that we were at that Polanco sent them to the ALCS. Nice little picture if you're watching on YouTube of me and my dad at that game. Still get chills thinking about it. And then we got to bring it all the way to right now. The Seahawks are 13-3, sitting on the edge of a division title. And we got plenty to say how we got there, what we're expecting in the playoffs. And World Juniors kicks off. We got Olympic hockey rosters. Canada just announced theirs. USA announces theirs in the next couple days. Maybe the rink's not fixed yet. Who knows? Lots going on. But that's why we're here to break it all down. Bonanno Sports Banter starts right now. Eric, kicking it over to you. How are you doing today?
I am riding high after the Mariners playoff run, and now the Seahawks embarking on theirs, and a wonderful wedding, and then a wonderful holiday season. So hopefully it was good for everyone, and yeah, things are rolling in the right direction.
Let's take it back to the wedding. You got to see your first child get married and not only be a witness, you got to be the officiant. How was that feeling? We watched the game tape over Christmas to see the performance, to see the strengths, what you could improve on. How do you summarize your performance as first of all father and then officiant?
Well, I was a very proud father, and you and Katie were fantastic. You planned a wonderful event. Her side of the family was terrific. And remember the Seahawks used to do Tell the Truth Monday when they would go over the game tape? Let's just say that my emotions definitely got the best of me. I didn't think it was going to be that emotional. I've been behind a microphone a good portion of my life, and no problems during my rehearsals, no tears came out. But as soon as the violin started and your wonderful bride started to walk down the aisle, I lost it. And I don't think I've stopped crying yet. So, yeah, Tell the Truth Monday, they definitely told the truth that I needed to hold it together a little bit more next time.
I thought it was great. Couldn't have asked for a better day. In my mind, nothing went wrong. I think the funny part about the wedding is there's just so much buildup, and then you're thinking about the opportunity cost. But just having everyone that you love and that loves you in the same room at one time is something that'll never happen again. And all the ups and downs of the wedding, just having everyone there to support you, and then seeing them show up for you with life get busy and all the travel. It was I don't really have words to describe it. It's something that I just never imagined. Can't really put into words, but it was awesome.
And just yes, it was absolutely wonderful. And it's kind of sad that sometimes, like you said, the people gather, all the people that we love, for two reasons: weddings and then funerals. And unfortunately, I've been in the position to lose two of my best friends through my lifetime. And it's definitely gotten to me to make sure that you're taking the time to spend with the people that are important to you. Um, after the loss of Richard, the best man at our wedding, uh, about 2 years ago almost now, I made sure I took a trip back to Billings, Montana, where some of the best years of our life were, where we had the hockey team, where you and your sister were born, just to go visit the people that were important in my life. And I'm going to continue to do that. So don't wait for people's funeral. Just, if you can, just try to let the people know that are important to you.
Yeah, I can tell the emotions are still pouring out of you. And I'm still young as I start this new journey, but I can even tell my perspective starting to change a little bit. Just a lot of gratitude, and realize how much it is important to show up for your people, and how much that I appreciate it, and then knowing how special and important that time. It definitely changes my perspective a little bit. So yeah, it was weird though during the wedding. I couldn't really get emotional. I my all my cousins and family expected me to cry when my bride walked down the aisle, but there was just so much going on. It was really hard to take in the moment. Right, I was standing in front of so many people, working through my vows, right, making sure everything was in order, and the emotions got to me when my wife and her dad did the father-daughter dance. But I was able to step out of the spotlight. No eyes are on me, and that's kind of when the reality sunk in. Because yeah, it was just so much going on. It was hard to be truly emotional in the moment.
Well, I handled it for both of us then, because I was triply emotional. You, me, and your lovely bride, Katie.
Yeah, what a good time. And well, now I'm kicking it over to what you see on the screen behind me. This is us right at the Polanco walk-off hit. Did get a little emotional there in that game 5 in the Battle Seattle. What an absolute experience to be there. When was the last time the Mariners made the ALCS? I don't think in my adult life, and since 2001. So really no expectations, but just what an absolute great game to be at. The energy, the crowd, the 15 innings. Wow, what a game.
It was incredible, and the amount of times that you and I thought we had the game won, and then thought we had the game lost. It was just, anybody who doesn't think that baseball is sit on the edge of your seat, you just need to watch one playoff game and have a vested interest and really watch it, because it's unbelievable. Because when you think about baseball, there's no clock. Anything can happen. You could score 700 runs, you could score no runs. You could keep an inning going for an hour, you could keep an inning going for 37 seconds with three pitches. So just the edge of your seat, the amount of times that we thought, oh no, this is over. And then the pinch hit with Louis Rivas coming up and getting the
That was a
base
big
hit,
one,
and yep, and then Polanco driving in the winning run. It was unbelievable.
especially with Scooble on the mound, 2-1 lead. not looking great. I don't know if this is over dramatic, but I think if the Mariners lose that game, there's a lot more sour feelings. Maybe Naylor doesn't want to resign because you lose in the AL, division series, and you had like 6 chances to win it into extra innings, and you kind of walk away thinking what could have been. A little bit with the game 7 ALCS loss, but you're getting there so close, anything can happen. So I think the vibes are still high. Obviously Naylor comes back, and yeah, I don't know what the trajectory would have been if they lost that game, but I do know just the amount of chances they had. It could have added some division in that locker room, or just some bitter feelings.
Yeah, definitely the good vibes only continued after that, and it may or may not been a factor, like you said, of Naylor coming back. But let's just appreciate. I called it the Christmas miracle that came early, was Naylor re-signing and going from there. And yes, it would have been nice to definitely go to the World Series. I definitely have some sour feelings about how Game 7 was lost, in my opinion, during Game 6 by the coaching staff. And I don't know if you want to get into specifics about that or go back on that, but for anybody who's mad about the Game 7 in the ALCS, going to Bizzardo wasn't necessarily the wrong guy. They put him in the wrong position by getting him up so much in Game 6. I actually looked at my wife during Game 6, and I'm like, well, Bizzardo is burned for tomorrow because they've gotten him up and down. I think it was 3 times. Hard to tell on television, but 3 times in Game 6, and then put him in there after that. I don't know how that guy had anything left for Game 7.
My biggest takeaway from that Mariners playoff run is I am just not prepared for a 7-game series as a Seattle sports fan. The up and downs were too much for me, because for the longest part of my life, it's been the Seahawks in the playoffs, and it's one game and you move on, and you obviously win that game. Vibes are high, and you think, okay, next game, and then Super Bowl's possible. The ups and downs, especially to baseball, like you go 6 innings without scoring, and you're like, wow, this team doesn't even deserve to be in the playoffs. And then they hang 10 on Detroit, and you're thinking, easy World Series, time to look out for the Dodgers. So that was the one thing that I took away. And my second takeaway is I think Blue Jays fans makes absolutely no sense. Yes, I'm 100% bitter. I do not like the Blue Jays. Do not like anything about them, the fans, the players. Not only because they knocked us out, but pretty much because they knocked us out. But I don't understand how people from Vancouver can be Toronto fans. I get it; it's Canada's team, but I'm just struggling with if San Fran had the only team in the U.S. against all Canadian teams, I don't think I could root for a San Fran team. And just knowing that the Canucks and Maple Leafs are bitter rivals, I don't understand how you change your hats. Like, no, I hate Toronto. Oh, but when the Blue Jays play, I'll swap out my Canucks hat for a Blue Jays hat. So I think they make no sense at all. But that might be me just being a little bitter.
Yeah, I get the same thing, and I understand patriotism, and I understand national pride, but I certainly kind of agree with you. It's a Major League Baseball team. It's not a national team. Root for your national team during the World Baseball Classic. If you're out west and the games are. A lot of times they're almost over by the time you get home from work, even on certain nights and everything. So I guess the only thing is that it's easier for people in Western Canada to root for an Eastern Canada team than it would be the other way around when the games start at 10 p.m. Eastern.
If you're a Blue Jays fan living in British Columbia or even Alberta, let me know in the comments of your thought process. Is it just Canadians team or Canada's team, and that's why you support them? Maybe your parents just grew up rooting for the Blue Jays, and I get that a little bit, but I just would really struggle to root for a San Fran team in any capacity. And now that we're on the topic here, I just have to get this out. Maybe this is just going to be me venting for an hour. They shouldn't even be called the San Francisco 49ers. They play in Santa Clara, which is like an hour south of San Fran. So I'm pretty upset about that as well.
Well, back to the Blue Jays and Canada deal. I think I don't know the Blue Jays roster in and out, but I think we had more Canadians on the Mariners than the Blue Jays had on more Canadians than the Blue Jays had on their roster too. So that is something for Canadians to think about.
We'll get our stats guy on that to confirm that as well. And yeah, I just don't like anything about it. They come down from Vancouver, they swarm T-Mobile, and me being bitter, but not a fan of those Blue Jays
let me
fans.
ask you a quick question about the playoffs. And in Game 5 of the ALCS, the Geno Suarez grand slam to win it to send it back to Canada with a chance for us to win one of the next two and go to the World Series. Awesome moment. The place was incredible. That's the one playoff game that we missed from Game 5 on. But I have a question for you about that hit. I think I'll always remember it fondly. But will that go down in history like possibly almost maybe the most amazing catch in Seahawks history, which was the Jermaine Kearse catch on the sidelines against the Patriots right before the meltdown of the interception on the goal line to lose the game? That was an unbelievable catch, but it's kind of lost since the interception on the goal line. Is baseball different? Will Geno Suarez also be a footnote and people forget it? I don't know how you could, but you might.
That's so funny because when you said Jermaine Kearse catch, my brain immediately went to against the Packers to send them to the Super Bowl. That Jermaine Kearse catch, that circus catch against the Patriots was already erased in my brain because it didn't matter. So I think that's your answer right there. I think Polanco's hit will carry more weight than the Geno hit.
Interesting. In
my opinion.
If people don't remember it, go back and watch the Jermaine Kearse catch against the Patriots, which was right after the catch to go to the Super Bowl against the Packers.
Because it's almost now that I wish that he would have dropped it and not made that off his foot, off his arm, because then we would have never been in that 1 yard line spot, and that was haunting us for a while. And maybe if he doesn't catch it, we just lose the game outright. And is that a better pill to swallow? Maybe not.
I don't know. Let's get back to the good vibes.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Harry Ford trade. They go out and get Jose Ferrer, who is not a household name and kind of set up as a middle reliever. So I think the first reaction was, wow, did we get enough for Harry Ford? But then you start looking a little bit deeper and you see it's a very talented arm in the 99s, 100 digits, triple digits on that fastball, live arm, and statistically had a better year than Josh Hader. So depending what angle you're coming from, if it's a middle relief pitcher that you don't know, then maybe it is not getting enough for Harry Ford. If it's getting a Josh Hader type, wow, that really strengthened the bullpen. So which way are you leaning as you digest this Harry Ford trade?
Well, obviously, I think people around Seattle expected you to get a lot more for Harry Ford, but obviously, this is what the market was for him. There are some questions apparently in teams' mind of whether he's going to be an everyday starting catcher. So if this is what the market is, you got a very talented relief pitcher and somebody that's going to shore up the bullpen. Very live arm, only 25 years old, club control for a while still. So, people are still complaining sometimes, well, I can't believe they traded him for only that, blah, 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 blah. Well, if there had been a better offer out there, obviously they would have taken it. But this was the top of the market offer, in their opinion, that they had. So, Harry Ford was blocked. It didn't work with trying to put him in a different position. And this was a need on the ball club. So it was a little bit shocking at first when you read it, but when you really kind of digest it, it's a big fill for the organization.
Yeah, and it's definitely a win now trade because Harry Ford's not going to help you get over the hump from the ALCS to the World Series, but Jose Ferrer will. In 10 years, we could look back and Harry Ford has a great career and say, maybe that trade wasn't the best, but you have to appreciate management going all in. And that's what I like about it, because a dominant left-handed reliever, something that the team desperately needed, especially as Gabe kind of struggled down the stretch. And it's going to lengthen that bullpen, which is much needed. And I don't know. At first, I walked away from that Blue Jays series saying the Mariners might not have enough pitching to make a run. Then I saw the Dodgers even struggle against the Blue Jays lineup, and their staff is excellent. Their rotation's excellent, bullpen's excellent. So, maybe that's just a credit to how good the Blue Jays bat on ball skills were. But still, you think you need another guy, especially he could go 1-2 innings. He had over 70 innings pitched last year. I think the worry is we saw the Gregory Santos trade, and relief pitchers can be fickle, right? Good one year, bad next year, hurt the next year, and all of a sudden, the trade comes back to bite you. But I think I'm excited about the trade. It's a live arm, and the team desperately needed it. Tried to fill that gap with Ferguson. That obviously did not work at all either, because he was pretty much unusable down the stretch. So they needed a bullpen arm. They needed a lefty arm. Let's just get them both in one guy that throws 100. For Harry Ford, that would be supplemental depth at this point. I'm in favor of this trade.
Yeah, I think the one thing that is clear when you look back on the season is the fact that the top leverage guys in the bullpen, the Munoz, the Brash, the Spire, and the Bizardo, they were used a lot, and I think their arms were pretty close to dead tired by the playoffs. So this will hopefully help add another arm. It is definitely a concern of what happened to Santos. I mean, we put a lot of eggs into that basket thinking that he was going to be a high leverage arm for us. It didn't work. But I also have a lot of faith in Jerry and Justin to find bullpen arms. So I think there will be another Bizardo out there that'll pop up. And if we have any regression with the other guys, hopefully they find another arm to get there. That, I think, as far as evaluating talent, that is probably their number one feather in their cap, is what they've been able to do with pitching, and especially finding bullpen pitching, sometimes on the scrap heap.
Yeah, I agree. And just thinking through it, the Dodgers win the World Series again. Is it time for the MLB to introduce a salary cap?
I know our listener, one of the listeners, wanted us to discuss that. They sent that question in via social media. And I think that you are, based on what the Dodgers did, I think you're getting closer to that potentially happening. Unfortunately, after this season, there is the very strong possibility of a lockout. And that might be the time that you start to see the owners start to push for a salary cap. And if they do that, the number one thing that I want to see is nobody understand from the outside, nobody understands NFL math, because you can make those contracts be whatever you want. And this guy's being paid $37 million this season, but 36 cents is what counts against the cap this year. I don't want that. I want a straight, this is what you're paying the guy. And if it's a 4-year deal, because baseball contracts are guaranteed, then you split it up 4 ways, or you could back in and load it, whatever it would be, but it's an actual number that goes against the cap this year. You would probably see more of the middle type players moving teams like you do in the NFL. If baseball does do that, where you've got guys that are the high end guys that organizations keep, they're better players, pay a lot to, and then in the middle, they kind of get rid of the guys that are coming up to make a little more money and replace them with cheaper guys. So you might have, putting in football terms, you might have a guy that's been with you for 3 seasons, but he's going to run out of his rookie contract. That's the guy that goes off, and they bring in somebody younger and cheaper. So I think you're going to see a lot more top end, a lot more bottom end if baseball does do that. But the Dodgers are putting a lot of owners in the position of wanting a salary cap based on the way that they're handling things. If you don't know, the Dodgers are signing guys for like Shohei Ohtani for I don't exactly remember what Shohei Ohtani's actual yearly contract was, but let's say it was 35 million, just as an example. Um, they're only paying him 2 million this year and deferring it for 10 years down the road, the other 33 million, when that owner probably isn't even going to own the team 10 years from now. So they're going to have a higher payroll 10 years from now than they do now of what they had to outlay this year. And for the good of baseball, baseball needs to step in and stop that. They may be waiting until the end of this season for the lockout to collectively bargain that out of baseball and possibly introduce a salary cap.
Yeah, and shout out Jack from Ole Miss. Great question, and it's a top of mind of a lot of baseball fans. And I 100% agree that there should be a salary cap. This is just getting ridiculous. Dodgers just signed Edwin Diaz, making their team even better. It's getting out of control, and I actually have the opinion that this will never happen. But I don't think baseball contracts should be guaranteed. I love in the NFL that if you just get old and you're starting to slow down, you just get cut and you save money against the cap. Especially if you look at a guy like Anthony Rendon, there's no way he should have gained 200 million from the Angels. I mean, he robbed them blind because he signs that big contract and then just quit. He's said, baseball's not really for me. He was either terrible or hurt all the time. Garver should not have earned his 12 million because he was terrible. So I like the idea of not having guaranteed contracts, especially in the MLB where the injuries aren't as prevalent as the NFL. It just makes me mad that Rendon is paid so much, but maybe the counterpoint is, well, then your front office shouldn't sign some of these guys to long-term deals. But yeah, I would say that contracts should not be guaranteed because using that Rendon example is just highway robbery.
Well, that genie's never going to go back in the bottle, so they will continue to be guaranteed. And it also then shows you that you have to be smart with your money and not sign guys that are average players, but just because they've been around for a while they're going to make more money. So you have to pay them for the player they're going to be, not the player they were.
Even look at Chris Bryant, signed that big contract. He's been on the field for maybe 80 games in the last 5 years.
And do
So
people even remember that he plays for the Rockies? I don't know if they do.
I don't think so. And yeah, that's another whole organization. They have a lot to figure out. But yeah, it's getting out of control, and I think we're definitely headed towards a lockout. Who knows if a salary cap can be the answer in the next CBA, but I think a lot of teams will be pushing for it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And when we get into more Seahawks talk, we need to compliment John Schneider a little bit more about how he handles the salary cap, but that can wait till our football talk.
We can move into football right now.
Well,
I think
just real quick before we do that, I just wanted to say, uh, going forward, just the last pieces that this roster needs for baseball, real quick, if we can just very quickly touch on that, because a lot of people are hearing like we need to replace right field and whatnot, and I don't think that we do. I think there's and the people that are screaming for these Bryce Miller and Brian Wu for Brendan Donovan trades I don't know where these reports are coming from, but I think people are reading Cardinals fan pages more than actual real reporting.
Yeah, it does feel like maybe they could use one more table setter that's consistent. Donovan, very strong on base percentage, not the greatest fantasy stat player, but a guy who just gets on base and can set the table for your lineup, and that would be very helpful.
It would be. I think our outfield is set. I think they'll hold on. I like Randy Rosarina in places other than the leadoff spot going into next year. I don't think you have to trade him. I don't want him off the team enough to trade him, but I wouldn't extend him either. I think you've maxed out the amount of money that you probably want to spend on that. I think right field is fine with Robles and Canzone. It's not a straight platoon. I think Robles will be closer to what he was from the year before that he was hurt last year. And then in the infield, I think Cole Young is your second baseman. I don't think they're going to go out and make a big move, and I'm fine with that. Cole Young deserves a chance to play, and I think he's got tremendous upside. Then the big question comes down to third base. Is it going to be Ben Williamson again with the fantastic defense and the 250 batting average, but not so much power? Or are they going to try to bring back a Suarez who could also DH a little bit? And I think there's probably room on the roster for all three of those guys if they can do it financially.
I thought you were setting up the Abbott and Costello bed. It's third base. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. That is a great bit. It never stops being funny.
Well, yeah, let's move on to the Seahawks. I think it's top of mind for us, Seattle
See?
fans,
Hawks.
Hawks. And yeah, I think first we just got to give a round of applause for what John Schneider and Mike Macdonald have done this year. Just incredible work. I mean, bringing in Eman Wari, that guy is a monster. And, he just helps the team so much because he can get physical in the run game. He could run with wide receivers. You see that the offenses will bring in their heavy personnel and they just leave their 5 DBs on the field because Eamon Wari can clog up that middle. So that's just an absolute blessing to have as if you're the D coordinator for the Seahawks. What an absolute offseason. I mean, I can't say enough good things about what those two have done.
Yeah, and think about this. John Schneider has done two rebuilds of this roster without the team ever stinking and going, 4-13 or 3-14. They've always been this close to the playoffs when they haven't made the playoffs. And he's flipped that roster two different generations, basically, and kept them a consistent winner. And now what? They're the second youngest team in the league. They've got a quarterback that is going to be there for the next few years. They are in prime position. They have some upcoming unrestricted free agents, but not a ton. You're going to have to pay JSN, but all those are problems that I have complete faith in John Schneider handling the salary cap and how to handle the roster. And I have more than complete faith in Mike Macdonald having a defense that is always going to be near the top of the league. I mean, it's unbelievable the work that they have done.
How about that DeMarcus Lawrence signing? When I first saw the headline, I was like, okay, old, maybe a little more like a Ziggy Ansah signing at the end of his career. But I certainly was wrong because he has a ton of juice left, and he's been a difference maker on that line.
And you know what? He's been so good that it sent me scrambling to my phone in the last few weeks to make sure it wasn't a 1 year deal that we signed him to, and it wasn't. So he's going to be around too. Yeah, him and Jaron Reed and Murphy is playing unbelievable this year. The front being able to pressure the quarterback has made the back even better. And then they come up with guys like Drake Thomas and just a guy that I absolutely love to watch play. Probably as much as I love watching the stars like Eamon Worry play, I love watching Julian Love and Ty Okada play and Kobe Bryant. I mean, what they've done with the safeties is unbelievable. Okada is so fun to watch. He's so fun to watch him put his body on the line every game, make every tackle, and he is just like that nonstop little machine that just keeps going and going and going no matter what.
Feels like we've come a long way from Trey Flowers and Tedrick Thompson. Also, I want to give a shout out to Brian Murphy. What he is doing this year is also unbelievable. When he gets double teamed and he drops that knee into the ground, I don't understand how two 600-pound men can't move him when he drops that knee in the ground. I mean, he must be a freak of nature. Plants that knee, takes on the double team, shoves them off, and makes the tackle. And it's not a play that you're seeing once or twice. You're seeing it once or twice a drive. And in no disrespect to Jaron Reed, but if that double team happens to him, he's usually getting pushed out of the way. But Murphy is just a beast with that. Like if he's in the A gap and the center guard are on him, that knee goes down and he goes nowhere, which I think, I'll never be that big or strong. I don't know how he does it, but watching it and just clogging up that middle has been spectacular.
And just again, sometimes we forget about these guys having a life outside of the stadium and what they do for their career for our enjoyment. He's doing all of this while having a couple months ago now, but during the season, having the birth of his child and that child being in intensive care in the NICU at Seattle Children's Hospital. So we forget that they also have pressures outside of coaches telling them to do their job and fans demanding that they do their job. And to accomplish what he's done while also having to run back and forth to Children's Hospital and being a basket full of nerves is incredible. I mean, as you know, our family went through that with your sister being in Seattle Children's when she was before a year old, and you do what you have to do, but I don't think there's any way that I could have been anywhere close to a dominant NFL player while she was going through that.
Yeah, that's a good reminder that these are people and people first. And especially with the fantasy and maybe DraftKings, you see a player go down and your first thought is like, oh, there goes my fantasy team, right? And then you realize you kind of take a step back. I remember watching Zach Ertz get hurt. I can't remember if it was ACL or Achilles, and you're thinking, wow, that could be his last snap in the NFL. In 32 or 33 years old, recovering from that injury, that might be done. So it's easy and it's natural, and I'm not blaming anyone to have that reaction of, oh man, my fantasy team. But yeah, just put yourself inside those shoes. It definitely appreciate what they're doing every Sunday, putting their bodies on the line for your favorite team.
Yeah, and then you can be very frustrated with their play on the field. You can express your frustration, but don't be, I mean, I'm not telling anybody how to fan, but don't be the fan that is threatening their family and their children on social media or telling them to go kill himself. What Mitch Garver had to go through from the Seattle fans is embarrassing. And these people are people. They want to do well. They have to live up to the pressures of their contract. Be frustrated all you want on their play of the field, but don't start threatening their family on social media.
Yeah, it's I can see how people forget that they're human first because they're almost expected to be like professional robot athletes, and that they show up to the field and you root for them, you pay to see them, and you kind of forget that there's a human element. So just a good reminder of what Murphy's going through and then how well he's playing. And this might be another time for another JB rant, but the PFF grades make absolutely no sense, and I'm never going to listen to them again. I watched Murphy just take on double teams, and maybe he doesn't get the block, but then he frees up like either Drake Thomas or Ernest Jones can fill that gap since he just absorbed the double team. And then I'll see a 60 PFF grade. What also makes me mad about the PFF grade is how would you know? You have no idea what defensive assignment responsibilities are. If Murphy's job is to clog up that double team so the linebackers can get to make the tackle, and then he doesn't get a tackle, it doesn't look great on PFF. So I'm over PFF. I think that's completely made up. And to even further make my case, one time I was in Uber in Scottsdale, and he said his other part-time job was reviewing film for PFF. So I think they just get absolutely like people like me who maybe know a little bit about football, but I can't tell you where the coverage is and the scheme on every play. What assignment was missed. Maybe it looks like the free safety blew the coverage, but he wasn't even supposed to be in there. Maybe he was, in more of like a hook zone. So that story, and then with the PFFs, I'm done with PFF.
Well, that's
I'm done
shocking.
with it.
Yeah,
I'm done with it.
I hadn't heard that about the Uber driver. But there is a reason though that all 32 NFL teams subscribe to PFF. So we have to keep that in perspective that they believe enough in it to do it. But yes, they don't know everything, and what I use it as a good estimator of things sometimes. And when it's in favor of the guy we sign, I'm happy. And when it's against the guy that we sign that we think is good, then I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
maybe
I
the
get you.
Uber the driver was messing with me, and I'll never know for sure. But hearing that story, watching some of the PFF grades, you just kind of shake your head.
And I think on the weekends in the summer he does brain surgery too. So whoa.
All right, so now the tell the truth Monday, even though I don't know what day it is. It might be a Wednesday, New Year's Eve. Seahawks are 13-3. Sam Darnold leads the league in turnovers. Usually not a great recipe in the playoffs. Defense is outstanding. Do you trust this team in the playoffs? Do you trust Sam Darnold in the playoffs?
Yes, absolutely. I want him to, in the words of Mike Macdonald, let it rip. The only places that I would say that maybe we need to be a little bit more careful is between the 30s. But outside of that, just let it rip. Um, I do trust him. Some of the fumbles that he's had have been a fluke. Some of the
Yes.
protection,
There
yeah,
there has been some weird turnovers.
yeah.
As not all on him, like off helmets, off Elijah Royal probably could have had a couple catches there helping him out. Some weird wacky fumbles on maybe some missed protections. But I digress. Go ahead.
Oh, and I was going to say this is a quarterback. I mean, what the Vikings go last year? 14-3, or were they
They won 13 games because Sam
13 and
Darnold
4? Okay,
is
so
in
Sam
elite
Darnold, yeah,
company to
exactly. This is
win
a guy who's
13
won
games.
with one game left in the regular season this season. He has 26 wins and what is that? 5 losses. So a quarterback that's gone 26-5 with two teams that have good and outstanding defenses. I do trust him, and I also think going into the playoffs, if he lets it rip, that I have enough faith that even I think this defense and this team can overcome a -1 in the turnover battle in the playoffs. I don't want him to get to a -2 a game, but in the playoffs, -1 a game, I'm not going to be overly upset with. I think this team can rebound from that, so I think it gives you a little bit more fire to play with as far as letting it rip. So I do have complete trust in him. The aspect of what from the beginning of the year, he was definitely a little hotter with explosive plays and touchdowns. In the last, I think it's last month or so, it's 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, a little bit back down to earth. But a lot of those games, the Seahawks have already been ahead, 30-3 at halftime almost, and a lot of those games were just, hand the ball off, let's milk the clock in the third quarter. They've blown people out. So there are a lot of times that I think that the offense could have put up more points. Now, having said that, in some games, I'd like to see Kubiak be a little bit more aggressive offensively and get Darnold into a little bit more rhythm early. I think sometimes that we almost lull ourselves to sleep on three straight dives and punt the ball type of deal. So I'd like to see us get a little Darnold going a little bit more earlier in the games. And I don't have a lot of concern. I don't like the games that we have to sit around until the third quarter to let him go and then trying to play and have to force things.
Yeah, I think we've seen it almost every year in the NFL, especially with Russell Wilson. First 8 to 10 games on fire, offense looks great, and then the defense makes some adjustments. You can tell the big change, the way that other teams are playing the Seahawks is when the Seahawks came out in heavy personnel, the other teams would respond with their heavy personnel, and that's what really opened the play action, JSN downfield. Now they're starting to leave a little more DBs on the field, saying pretty much, "Hey, prove to us that you can run it, and we're going to let you guys run it, but we're not. We're going to keep our two safeties high, and JSN's not going 70 yards to the house." But that also, we saw Zach Charbonnet go for 100 in Carolina because of that. So I do think it's going to help the run game a lot as defense make that adjustment, and then I think the Seahawks offense will just have to adjust back and. Then you start wearing teams down with those 5-6 Charbonnet runs. Walker getting to the outside, and all of a sudden, when we bring in heavy personnel, they'll match with their heavy set, and then the play action's back open. So, I think they're keeping a lot of it on reserve. Really not opening up the playbook until maybe this week. What is it now? Week 18 against San Fran for the division and into the playoffs. But I have noticed that, they've made that adjustment on the defensive side, but that's opened up the run game. And I think that's a good sign for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and obviously going against San Francisco in the game for the division, probably going to be down Shaheed, which was a great pickup by Schneider at the deadline. At first, you're like, oh my, he gave up a lot for him, but man, what a difference he's made to this team, and especially Horton's injury is worse than anyone expected. And what that guy can do is just turn the tide of a game at any point. The two plays that he made against the Rams were two of the biggest plays of the season: the punt return for the touchdown, and then the toss sweep end around that he ran for 30 yards right after that. So what a speed burner, and what a guy to add to the lineup. So this offense has a lot of playmakers.
I struggle with this team because I'm enjoying the ride and the defense is special. And it does feel like a team that is very close knit. Watching Ernest Jones after that first Rams game, like, wow, that is a close knit locker room. No blame placed on Sam Darnold. Even had some nice things to say if you were on Sam. But then the flip side is, one Sam Darnold Rams game like that first game, and you're out of the playoffs. There's not a lot of room for error. So I don't know. I'm really struggling to the future of this team is. How far can they really take this? Obviously, Saturday is going to be a big test. You get the 1 seed. You're already past the first round. That feels good. Not even a big deal if you lose Saturday because you go on the road to Carolina or Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay obviously a little bit more dangerous. Already lost to them, but they've been really struggling in the second half. A lot of injuries over there, and so I don't think this game's an end all be all, but I just don't know. Don't feel confident in saying this team would be out in the first round or is a Super Bowl contender. The spectrum for me is 1 to 10.
Well, I think they're definitely a Super Bowl contender with that defense, and I think the offense is explosive, and the offense in a tight game. I think you're going to see an offense opened up. I think that if you watch the Niners against the Bears, I think the Seahawks are like, okay, we can attack this offense, this defense with our offense. So I think you see the playbook opened up this week. The defense hopefully playing well, and This is, like you said, it's not the end of the world if they lose it, but man, it'd be special if they won it.
What was your take on Philip Rivers coming out of retirement and playing pretty well? His ability to read those defenses got him in a lot, moving the chains. The arm strength wasn't there, but looked pretty good. What was your take on old Philip Rivers coming out of retirement?
Um, shocked, shocked at how well. I mean, he didn't go light it up or anything, but I didn't think that he was going to be able to adjust to the speed of the game at all right away. And it looked like he was a a backup quarterback in the NFL right away. Been practicing with that speed all the time, and then the reading of the defense put him in the upper echelon and into the starting quarterback realm. So I was amazed actually what he could do. I honestly thought the Seahawks were going to be so all over him like they were with Brosmer in the Vikings game, the
Mhm.
game that we won, what was it, 26-0, and Brosner was, tossing the ball up for grabs when he was getting sacked. I thought there was no way he was good. Philip Rivers was going to be able to avoid a sack. So for what he did coming back 5 years after being gone, and even taking his first hit 5 years is I don't even understand. He was coaching high school kids, so if he threw a ball, it was at a high school speed, not game speed, and to step into an NFL game and to complete any passes more than 2 yards down the field, I thought was amazing. The most incredible thing I've ever seen on the baseball field was Yamamoto pitching in Game 6 and Game 7 for the Dodgers in the World Series like he did. And the most incredible comeback I've ever seen in football is Philip Rivers stepping in there and adjusting to the speed like he did.
It really was impressive. I mean, they had a really good shot to win in Seattle. And if they had any defense in that 49ers game, they could have won that game. They put them in position to win, which is really impressive. And I think my top takeaway from watching that is college football is broken. They are not developing quarterbacks like they used to. And I think, you know, is it the transfer portal? Is it coaches moving around? Is it getting a new offensive coordinator? Is it just with all these changes, it's, setting up your quarterback. Here's the first read. Here's the second read. They're not really reading defenses. Quarterbacks are more athletic, so maybe it's them scrambling a little bit more and not really having to worry about protection as much. But that was my takeaway: is if a 44-year-old is your best option simply because he can read the protection and read the defenses and get the ball out on time, I think something's broken in college football where we're just not developing these quarterbacks. And maybe I'm starting to sound like the grumpy old man, but if you go to a Michigan program and you sit for 2 years, you learn, you use that time and you learn and you study and you learn, you watch the game and you have the same offensive coordinator and you have the same coach. When you go to Michigan, you're not the starter, you jump to a new team, right? Then you're learning the system and you probably come in late. It's not enough to teach you everything. So you're rushed. Next year you transfer out. And I don't know. I just think that was my takeaway, that something in college football is broken. If we just can't develop these quarterbacks to be ready to read NFL defenses.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, and college athletics is so broken that it's pretty much turned me off of being any sort of somebody who really follows it. It was great when it was a regional rivalry sport, and it's not now. And the transfer portal and the NIL being used the way it is, and just you played college sports for the opportunity to play professionally, and they definitely should get paid for their name, image, and likeness, but not what it is, uh, where coach walks in and says, "Hey, the minute you sign, you're being paid for your name, image, and likeness because we have $6 million dedicated to our offense, and we're going to split it up this way." That's not what it was for. So yeah, college is broken, and I think you're dead on right with the portal and coaches moving and not sitting and learning anything anymore. You're going to, yeah. I used to say that there were maybe like a handful, two handfuls of good kickers in the NFL, and they just all kind of changed teams. But now kickers are very good in the NFL, but
Mhm.
now I think they're good 10 quarterbacks, and they're just going to all change teams. Two handfuls of good quarterbacks left, and that's not good for the health of the NFL.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Rivers, especially in Seattle. You couldn't see it as much, but when you watch that 49ers game, I mean, you could hear him. He was changing the protection, he was changing the plays, didn't take many sacks, ball came out on time. Uh, yeah, just really impressive. And yeah, like if you look at, the Huskies, my takeaway from that team is like, oh, this team's 1 year away. With the transfer portal, who knows? They
Yeah.
could have a complete reset. They've already lose some players, so they have a really young, exciting quarterback. And you do feel like next year is a real big chance for them to get into the playoffs. But you can't even get excited about it because they're already losing some players. Um, there's already rumors. Hopefully, Fish stays. I know there's some job openings that filled up, so maybe he is going to stay. But then every coach is leaving. It's a mess.
I mean, Washington State lost their coach after 1 year
Yeah.
after he came from the lower level up to Washington State. I just don't understand how coaches can do that. Where they used to go and say, "I can't leave a place until I leave it in better shape than where when I inherited it for the job." And yeah, it's just broken. It's just broken.
Yeah, I hope they can fix it soon. Especially yeah, if you're not the Ohio States and the Alabamas, it doesn't really work for you. I'm sure they probably love it because they're getting the best players. But then it's almost like the Dodgers winning every year because they have the most money. And if is that really what we want in the sport?
Right.
Probably
You're
not.
just the other teams are just developing for those top teams.
Yeah.
If you go and play a good game against somebody, they're going to take you the next year. So yeah, it's just broken.
I saw a quote recently, and now I won't be able to give credit because I can't remember, but I think it was a D1 hockey coach. I'll do some research, and I liked his quote. He said, I'm not here to help you earn $100,000. I'm here to help you earn 10 million in the NHL. And I like that quote. But as a 18-year-old kid, you see $100,000. That's life changing money. It's money you haven't seen before. So I'm not blaming kids for jumping at every opportunity to go make hundreds of $1,000s. But I did like that quote of you come here to develop to make millions in the NHL. Thought that was an interesting quote.
Well, I saw something and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a picture of JSN and of Ohio State receiver, kind of a meme, and put their salaries on there, and the Ohio State player was making more than JSN
Oh, wow.
this year. So yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Did you hear about that Carolina Panthers podcast?
No, what are we talking about?
So when the team started 1-4, they just said, "Hey guys, we're putting too much effort in for a team that's not any good," and then they won like 4 in a row, and they tried to come back, and the Panthers community wouldn't let them come back. I
Oh
thought that was
wow.
hilarious.
That's incredible. So yeah, and they have a chance to win their division. So those guys are gonna have to start a podcast on under a different name,
Yeah, on a
different
pseudonym.
identity. Yep.
Yeah, that brings me to my next point. What do you think about the NFC South winner hosting a playoff game?
We hear this every year, and I'm fine with it. Those division games mean something. It benefited us, when we beat the Saints in
The
a home
Beastquake.
game. Yep, Beastquake game when we were 7-9, and won the division back then. So I'm fine with it. I like the division. I love the fact that you win your division. There's a reward for it. So I know people get mad, and it happens every year, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm frustrated because of how good the NFC West is. I mean, you got teams with 13. 14 wins, whatever it shakes out. And then 3 teams that are battling at 7-9, 8-8. It makes you frustrated. I don't know. Maybe the answer is if you don't host a playoff game, but you still get in. Would that be a fair compromise?
No, I'm fine with it. I
You
like
have
the
no
reward of
plans.
winning your division. I like the carrot of division games meaning something, and those games are always extra special, so I'm okay with it.
Did you see that wacky way that Atlanta could mess up the NFC South?
Yes,
That is
that Carolina
hilarious.
could actually lose and still win the division. Yeah,
That would be
NFL
a
math.
great way for the NFC
Oh,
South to finalize. The
yeah.
loser of a play-in game wins on a 3-way tie.
It's unbelievable. And when you only play 17 games, that wacky NFL math, it kind of matches the salary cap because NFL math is wacky on the salary cap, and then those tiebreakers, you have to go down all those tiebreakers to get in. So, yeah, 17 games. Imagine if baseball, I mean, we've had baseball seasons where teams are tied after a full baseball season in the division. So, imagine what will be after 17 games. How many baseball teams would be tied after any 17 game span?
The Falcons have to be kicking themselves for losing to the Jets. Otherwise, they beat the Saints and they're in the playoffs. I'm sure that Atlanta fans aren't sleeping too well now that they just beat the Rams.
And I think it also goes. I made a prediction when we were at the Seahawks Viking game that Kirk Cousins would be back with the Vikings next year as their starting quarterback. Since that time, though, JJ McCarthy has played better when he's been healthy. So maybe my prediction won't come to fruition, but I think Kirk Cousins showed that somebody's going to give him a chance to start next year, even if they have to trade for him. But probably Atlanta cuts him, I would think.
Yeah, it probably just depends on the health of Michael Penix. Yeah, the Vikings case is interesting there. They won 13 games. Now we both can't remember if it was 13 or 14, but I think they lost to that last Lions game for the division. And then Sam had that another bad game against the Rams. I think they went 13-4. Yeah, not often you win 13 games and send your quarterback packing. And JJ's shown some flashes of being really good, and he's shown some flashes of being really young. And they're in an interesting spot because their defense is really good, and it feels like a win now team. Maybe they thought they could replicate it with anyone playing quarterback just to the KOC system. But we're sure thankful they let Sammy walk and come to us.
Big time thankful. And it does show you that when you have a legit starting quarterback, you basically need to hold on to those guys until you have somebody else that you really, really believe in. Because I think everybody in Seattle, probably not everybody, because we've heard people that think that Geno Smith was great as a Seahawk. You and I overheard a big argument on the light rail leaving a Mariner game about that. And then, but objectively looking, you can look and see that Sam Darnold is much better than what Geno Smith was, and a lot of Geno's success were those quick little dump offs. And he did very well, but I think we've been able to take it to the next level with Sam compared to having Geno as a quarterback.
Every time I have red zone on, I just look up and it's a Geno Smith red zone interception without fail. I see it once a week. Disaster year for the Raiders. Tough welcome back for Pete. Someone misjudged that roster and thought they were ready to compete, and they were certainly not. Now they're competing for the first overall pick. That probably ends Geno's tenure with the Raiders. Maybe signs as a backup somewhere to compete for a job, but you got to think that his NFL days might be dwindling.
Well, then is Pete Carroll on his way out too? Now you got the whole controversy with their best player. Max Crosby is mad at the organization. Will he even be back? It's we're not Raider fans, but it sure seems from the outside that it's a quagmire.
Yeah, and it makes you appreciate when you have those 3 pillars in place. good ownership, great GM, strong head coach. And it feels like the Seahawks have had that strong GM and ownership for a while now. And Macdonald's really proving to be a really strong leader. I like watching him and hearing some of the ideas he had. I think it's once a week he sends small groups out for a walk. So offense, defense, special teams, all getting to know each other. A little bit unique, but you can kind of tell it's turned into a brotherhood where there's no bitterness that the offense has stalled out. It's, hey, we got you guys. We'll go make a play and get you the ball back and get you a short field. And their defense could definitely have a little bitterness because there's been some times that they've really bailed them out. But there's also some times that the offense has come to life as well. So really strong connection and impressed with
that's
Macdonald.
something that Seattle is unique about in the professional sports world, because the Mariners have a very, 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 very tight clubhouse. The Seahawks have a very, very tight locker room. I highly doubt that if you looked back at the last 10 years of the NFL with the optional the OTAs that players don't have to come to, the veterans, a lot of places don't come to it, whether they've got vacations or marriage or whatever it is, and every single Seahawk showed up for every off-season um, activity this year for this team and really bought in. Now, is that because Ernest Jones being leader, or is it because of maybe a leader on the offensive side? I don't know who that would be equivalent to Joe. Whoever it is behind that, or however that is unheard of in the NFL. Not one player missed anything. I mean, 2 years ago, Aaron Rodgers missed training camp in New York, right? Regular training camp, not OTA stuff. And you've got every single Seahawk showing up for the voluntary workouts in the off season. Unbelievable. I don't know who is the glue that is holding that together, but major, major thumbs up.
Yeah, and just looking at all the offseason moves, when they traded DK, it was JSN's a slot receiver. He can't step up to be a number one. A lot of analysts were wrong on that one because, if he gets 226 yards, he set the single season record. DK's had some struggles in Pittsburgh, both on and off the field. Gino, yeah, it just looks like a mess. Now, I'll give Gino credit. It's not all on him. That O-line for the Raiders is a disaster. I mean, even GD's struggling, and, he's a top talent. And I don't know what's up with Pete and his O-lines, but probably bringing in Stone Forsythe to get a lot of playing time probably is not going to help your quarterback turnover issue and your sack issue. And then, yeah, bringing in Cooper Kupp, it seems like he's really took on a mentor role to JSN, and still reliable on third downs, and probably is going to have to step up pretty big if Shaheed has to miss Saturday. And then,
Yeah,
we've
that's
already talked about DeMarcus Lawrence and his impact.
Yeah. That's the one thing I would like to see the offense do a little bit better on, and try to involve some of the guys earlier, which would take a little more heat off of JSN later in the game. Two things on the offense I'd like to see, run some plays specifically designed for like a Cooper Kupp or a Shaheed earlier in the game, and then take some shots more down the field earlier in the game to soften up the coverage. You saw how far the Panthers weren't all that worried about the Seahawks throwing the ball deep on them.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to soften them up a little bit by taking some shots down the field earlier in the game, even if it's incomplete.
When did Mike Jackson play for the Seahawks?
Up until 2 years ago, I believe.
Was he a
I'd have to look
starter? I
back
don't remember
exactly.
him at all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He was a good player. He was a good player for us.
Wow, that might be just me getting old.
Yeah.
Didn't appreciate that hit on Shaheed, though. That seemed pretty
No.
late. I'm surprised that wasn't a flag.
And he definitely rodeo tossed him his head down. So I'm surprised that there wasn't a flag and a fine that came afterwards too. That was not good.
And it sure looked like his toe was out on that pick. I'm not
I thought
blaming the
so.
refs, but
I tell you what, I don't understand any of the replay stuff anymore, because things that look obvious to me, I look and they're like back in 2 seconds. Say, well, very clearly that was upheld. And what I'm like, no, it's foot was out of bounds.
Did you watch the Rams Falcons ending? That Cooper or not Cooper Cup, that Puka Nakua catch is probably the incomplete catch of the year. That
Yes.
was incredible. That one-handed snag, gets 2 feet down. Tough, if you have one hand on it, it's bound to move when you go to the ground. But wow, that guy is a special talent.
Yep, and almost a Seahawk apparently. So yeah, and it took, I guess, a couple of different splices together for them to see his arm come off of the ball there a little bit. So yeah, the Seahawks benefited by having the Rams lose that game on that play right there of him just being having the ball loose for a second, or not even a second,
Yeah.
millisecond in his arm as he was going. But what a catch! Yeah,
And even better for Seahawks fans that the Rams own the Falcons' first round pick. So go ahead and slide that pick a few slots after that big Falcons win. So not to be too petty, but big day for Seahawks fan on Monday
yeah,
Night Football.
exactly.
All right, I have to give my last flowers. I've just been really impressed what AJ Barner's doing this year. Such a fun guy to watch and root for. I mean, he's got the hard count when he's in the quarterback, getting the people to draw off sides. He's tough as nails blocking, turning into a pretty good receiver. I think he's slept on because the volume isn't there as someone as you're thinking of like a Tyler Warren or a Brock Bowers, but the touchdowns are certainly there. And when the Seahawks are ranked 30th the league in passing and 50% goes to JSN, there's not a lot of targets to go around. But when his name is called, he's delivered. I mean, especially that catch when he was wide open against the Rams. That was no easy catch. That was a big boy catch there, full extension. And if he drops that, maybe the Seahawks don't come back. So I just had to give a shout out to AJ Barner and quickly becoming one of my favorite players.
Well, and think about this. Other than Aaron Rodgers, I think AJ Barner is absolutely the best at the hard count in the NFL. And I mean that sincerely, because you watch these other quarterbacks when they're going to try to draw teams off sides, and you can tell they're faking it. They don't know how to act. They don't do it right, and whatnot. But AJ Barner gets up there and he does it, and he can draw a team offside almost every time. It's incredible what he can do. And he's a former high school quarterback, but his hard count, I would put second in the league to Aaron Rodgers.
That is a bold statement, and I love it. Yeah, I love how that we have our own version of tush push. Especially, I don't think anyone's stopping
It's the
Barner.
barnyard up here in Seattle. I love it. The barnyard.
Any thoughts on the Kraken? I was looking at the standings. They're 2 points out of a wild card, 4 points out of picking first overall in the lottery. So, what do you make of this team?
I don't know. They lose some of their best players, and then they go on a 4-game winning streak. They start off the year with the best start in franchise history by playing good defensive hockey. Then they go through that terrible, terrible late November, December stretch. Uh, Grubauer was the forgotten man. Then he comes back and he plays great. Decord sometimes can look terrible, and the next night give you a shutout. So honestly, I don't know what to think with this team. Montour's been out and they've been better. Dunn was out, they've been better. They trade Marchment, they've been better. So I really don't. To be honest with you, I'm interested to see how the rest of the season goes. I don't know I can't predict what to expect, because it is it's like the old tech stock that goes up one day, down one day, up one day, down one day on the NASDAQ, back when people were day trading, or the old AMC Theater, or what was the other one? GameStop, that went up, 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 and all those people got rich and then it crashed back down. So I don't know. That's my answer. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough because we went to that game against the Oilers and you just watch, you're like, this team is not good enough to compete with the top teams. But they can beat up on some middle teams and some low end teams. But at the end of the day, like, even if they somehow sneak into a wild card, which I'm not predicting at all, they're just not good enough, unless Grubauer or Decor just stands on the head. But yeah, it was pretty evident McDavid, Draisaitl just walk circles around that team, and they just did not have the offensive talent to keep up.
No, we really do need an aircraft carrier for that team, an actual, legit goal scorer, and we don't have one. And they
You
don't
know who
grow
we
on
did
trees.
have, though?
Yeah, we had a couple 30 goal
How do we let
scorers.
Morgan Geeky walk out the building?
Yeah,
How?
if you haven't kept up on Morgan Geeky since he left the Kraken, just look up his stats. It's good for him, sad for us.
In the 2025 calendar year, so a little bit last season, a little bit this season, 55 goals, tied for first with Nathan McKinnon. How do we have a guy in our building and misjudge that much talent?
And let him walk for nothing.
Yeah, and he would have been probably an RFA, maybe a UFA. I'm pretty sure he's young enough to be an RFA, and they just didn't offer him a deal. How do you let Morgan Geeky walk out of that building is absurd.
And two teams that gave up on him now, so at least we have a little bit of company, but yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
He had 30 last year. He's already on pace to break 30 this year, might have 40 goals. It's yeah, 33 goals last year. He's had 25 in 40 games this year. Just have an absolute. And it's funny because I think if you put a Morgan Geeky on the Kraken roster, all of a sudden the depth is good enough again, and they have enough firepower to score on the power play. And maybe you're thinking, okay, that this is a true wild card team.
Yeah, maybe. It will be interesting to see what they do at the deadline. And I don't know exactly when the deadline is with the Olympics this year. It's kind of throwing the whole schedule off. And maybe the NHL players are going to play in the Olympics if the building is done and they can test the ice. But it will be interesting because they do have some free agents that are coming and a lot of money coming off the books potentially in the next 2 years. But they need to get some some more offensive talent, and I still like some more grinders too a little bit.
Yeah, it's been bumming me out watching the World Juniors a little bit. I mean, it's fun to watch James Higgins just tear it up for USA, but it does give me a little concern that O'Brien was left off the US or the Canadian roster. Uh, O'Brien was the 7th pick in last year's NHL draft. Higgins was the 6th pick. Uh, it doesn't maybe mean anything, but it's just fun to watch some of the Kraken prospects in the World Juniors, especially Higgins looking really strong for US. And O'Brien, we won't get to see. So obviously I'll be rooting for Team USA and this team, but I do wish we had a little bit more Kraken prospects to root for, especially Catton's not playing. Team decided not to loan him out. So missing O'Brien and Catton, a little bit of a bummer as I was looking forward to watch those two guys play in the World Juniors.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me that they decided not to let Catton go play for the World Juniors. From the outside, again, looking in, you would think it would do his confidence really well. They decided to keep him and not send him back to juniors in Spokane this year. After his clock started ticking, he gets 9 games, and then you can decide to send him back, and his clock toward free agency doesn't start at that point yet. So they decided to keep him at that point. He hasn't scored a goal yet, but he's been a good player. He's 19 years old, and it does surprise me again from the outside looking in that they wouldn't say, "Yep, go ahead and go play the World Juniors," and just let him remember what it's like to, lack of a better term, dominate. Because he was dominant in the Western Hockey League last year, and it would probably be a situation where he could go back and remember what it's like to score goals at will and maybe come back a better player. I mean, for whatever reason, they decide to keep him, think he'll learn more playing in the NHL, and maybe that's right. It just surprised me from, again, the outside looking in, how I would have probably approached it. I would have sent him off to get some confidence by playing.
I agree. And that tells me one of two things. either management thinks this is a wild card team and he's an integral piece and he can't miss some of these key games because they were in danger of falling out of the race, or management is realizing they might be staring at the end of the rope if they don't produce some results, and losing a guy like Berkeley is only going to hurt their case and make them lose a couple more games. That's kind of what I'm reading into it.
Yeah, and I still think they decided for the best of his development to keep him practicing against better players and such, but I still would have let for his mindset, send him back, let him score some goals, and see what it feels like again.
Yeah, I just don't know. I assuming Ron Francis knows that it's getting pretty close for his time to, make a good product, or there might be some changes. So how do you develop long-term development of 5 years versus, hey, we need to win now, because it's been a little bit of a lot of losing in Seattle and starting to become a trend. And if you don't flip that script, there's some difficult conversations coming.
Yep, and the ownership is going to have to look at the Sonics probably coming back in the near future. The NBA has said that they're going to make an announcement on Vegas and Seattle in 2026, which means probably in 28 that the Sonics could be back. 28, 29 season possibly. So you're going to have another winter sport. There are only so many eyeballs that can watch sports, and there's only so many advertising dollars that can go around. And the Sox are going to be hot when they come back in. So the Kraken could see themselves getting buried very easily, an avalanche of people just not caring.
Was that avalanche on purpose? I don't know if you're referencing
No, not the Colorado
playoff game win, series win. How they beat McKinnon and McCarr, I'll never know, but we'll take that to the bank because that's really all they stand for. Before we log off today, you got to tell your Stuart Skinner light rail story to the people, because I still laugh about that quite a bit.
I was like, wait a minute, what did I do? Oh, so we were going down, Justin, myself, Justin's lovely fiance at the time. No, well, wife at the time, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Justin's wife and my wife. So we were all going down to watch the Kraken versus Edmonton game. And I don't know much about the Edmonton Oilers other than their stars on their team. And actually, I watch a lot of Draisaitl and McDavid press conference stuff because they are pretty much two of the most rain cloud guys as far as to reporters in the league. So I watch their stars, I watch their press conferences, but I don't watch a lot of Edmonton Oilers games. And you had said earlier in the day that Edmonton needed a goalie. So we're on the train going down, and we meet a family with like a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, and mom and dad. And I'm talking to the 5-year-old about him just starting playing hockey, and he's telling me about how he got to meet some of the Oilers, and how he's gotten to go to some games, and they're there to watch the game. They just picked Seattle to come to watch, and so he's all fired up, asking about school and Oilers, and he's a big Oiler fan. And then I say to him, I said, yeah, the Oilers could be really, really good. They just need a goalie. And the kid got really quiet. And the mom looks at me and says, and for anyone who doesn't know, Skinner was their goalie at the time, looks at me and says, oh, yeah, Skinner is his favorite player.
And then the kid turns around and he's wearing a Stuart Skinner jersey as well.
Of course. Yeah, that was going to get to that part of it. I did not notice that the kid had a Skinner jersey on. So I think he had a jacket on, didn't he? Or did I completely miss that?
I mean, you wouldn't be looking for a Skinner
completely-
jersey, so not
Yeah,
all
it's
your
true.
fault.
I completely just on a 5-year-old's favorite player in the NHL.
Well,
Way
you
to
don't
go,
make
Eric.
it to an AHL front office without dissing a few 5-year-olds. So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to do the dirty work in front of the net.
Well, I did it. I rained
I
all
was
over a
watching that
5-year-old.
interaction. I couldn't stop laughing. Kid just like gets all quiet and starts to pout. And mom's like, "Oh, that's his favorite player."
Yeah, and after that, I was like, okay, have a good time in Seattle.
Oh, that was
So
too
the
good.
moral of the story is don't let me around your kids. I
Um,
may say something about Santa Claus not coming this year or the Easter Bunny not coming.
and then right before we log off, I have to give out a shout out to my wife. She won our family fantasy league this year, and don't clap too much because I'm pretty upset about it.
Oh,
She drafted Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift in the first 2 rounds for the sole purpose of naming her team Taylor Swift. And she went on to make all of us look like fools and dominate her way to, in the family since August, fantasy championship in December. So tidy work from her, but I'm pretty sour about it because I've been watching 32
that's
years of
awesome.
football, reviewing the game tape, all the analytics, what the pundits say, and her Taylor Swift team made quick work of me and the rest of the league.
Oh, that's awesome. I guess this era, her team is going to be the best.
So shout out to her. Maybe that's the takeaway is less thinking for me next year and suffer from some analysis paralysis. But
March Madness, we're picking them on uniform colors.
well, it's great to be back. Big game on Saturday. I'm fired up. Again, not the end of the world if they don't win that one. Going to be a great game. Hopefully, Sam Darnold can do what he does best and take advantage and kind of shut some of the critics down, including myself. And I think everyone in the press box had that story written in that Rams game. Sam Darnold chokes again in big game, and then throws that pass to Cooper Kupp between that out route between the corner and the safety, and you're like, wow, this guy's an NFL quarterback. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I'm just trying to tell myself it's not the end of the world if things don't go our way.
And Justin's New Year resolution that I'm making for him is he will do better getting more podcasts out this year.
That is the goal. Pumped to be back. Thank you everyone for listening. Have a happy and safe new year. We will see you guys next year. Thanks everyone.